sometimes just showing pathways you need to access to nab star coins. It can be fun, but the Mega Mushroom is just the definition of a gimmick. On the complete opposite side of the power-up spectrum, the Mini Mushroom. This is considered a power-up? Mario anti-grows to go face-to-face with pocket change, and the only benefits from this power-up are Christ on water, a floatier jump, if you consider that a benefit, and access to secrets. It's actually the only way you can get to the 2 extra worlds in the game. You have to defeat 2 bosses as Mini Mario. I like the concept of this power-up, basically giving you access to extra areas in the world, but like I said, is this even a power-up? This is something you begrudgingly accept when you want to get somewhere specific in a level. I don't think anybody's ever gone, shit, is that a Mini Mushroom? And finally, this, the Blue Shell. This power-up definitely has its fans. I'm not one of them. It allows Mario to swim with ease and, I hate that Mario automatically goes into the shell while running. It turns the game into a migraine factory. I just want to run throughout the level, but instead Mario goes into the shell and now I have to deal with this. You ricochet off walls and it just hurts my feelings. I always pass up on the Blue Shell. The game is split into 8 worlds in total, but 2 of them are more so considered special worlds. If you make a beeline to the end of the game, you only go through 6 worlds. Now that makes the game sound significantly shorter than what you may want it to be, but in my opinion, for a DS game in 2006, this was a fine length. Sure, you can beat the game in around 6 hours or so, but you can milk this game for quite a long time. There's so many secrets to discover. You can find all the extra levels, get all the star coins, or play the greatest selection of minigames ever served. Yeah, we have to discuss these. As a little bonus, Nintendo included an array of touchscreen-based minigames that you can start playing the minute you pop the game in. The majority of these are ripped right from Super Mario 64 DS, but here they're available from the start. And man, these were the slickest back in the day. The minigames where you drew lines always impressed me. Like, you can draw these trampolines and they appear. Yes, this is all I needed back in 2006. Gambling played a key role in my childhood, so it was great to have a Luigi variant to play at whim. I always played this Bob minigame, though. You have to put the right colors in the right area, and my color blindness never stopped me from having this much fun. Speaking of the touchscreen, New Super Mario Bros. Utilized it by showing your progress through the level, which I always appreciated. I wish more games did this. Also showcased was a power-up in reserve and the amount of star coins collected. Sometimes entering a pipe would throw the action on the bottom screen. I guess it's a cool effect, but doing this makes it so you can't use your item in reserve, which is kind of lame. Graphically and sound-wise, New Super Mario Bros. Is completely competent, but not too awful impressive. We have a mix of 2D sprites and 3D models, obviously, so everything runs smoothly on the DS. It looks fine, and honestly makes the game visually more interesting compared to future entries, just because it looks more distinct. There's some decent tracks here in the sound department, but nothing that I'd consider amazing or anything, just completely passable and does the job. 8 worlds, a decent campaign, mini-games, there's a competitive multiplayer mode here too. New Super Mario Bros. Was and still is a pretty solid package. But why isn't this generally looked at alongside the other 2D Mario triumphs? Back when it was first released, many reviewers lauded New Super Mario Bros. As a modern classic, a game that would be looked at in the same way as Super Mario World and Super Mario Bros. 3 are today. However, many just don't talk about this one as much. Why? In my opinion, it's just how the game presents itself. New Super Mario Bros. It doesn't feel like a sequel or an evolution. It's just a new Super Mario game. Even looking at the box, it just screams, this ain't your grandpa's Super Mario, but has very little else to say. Everything looks exactly how you'd picture a new Super Mario Bros. Game to look. Of course, with the exception of Large in Charge over here. It's pretty much just another Super Mario Bros. Game. But another major key factor when considering why this game doesn't have the same staying power as the classics is what we'll be talking about next. At E3 2009, Nintendo officially unveiled New Super Mario Bros. Wii, or as they put it,
New Super Mario Brothers for Wii.
That really confused me at the time. Using the term 4 implied it was literally the DS game, but on the Wii. But nope, it was a whole new game, and now, for the first time, 4-player simultaneous multiplayer. It was always a disappointment to play Super Mario Bros. With a friend, hit 2-player, and realize that the game only allowed you to play after the other player dies. No, now you can all play at the same time. Of course, you can play as Mario and Luigi, but Nintendo apparently held a poll within the company to figure out what would be the lamest possible choices for a 3rd and 4th-player character, and they came back with a yellow and blue Toad. I mean, sure, it makes sense. You have the 4 playable characters classified under 4 separate distinct colors. But at that point, you may ask, well, why not make the other 2 characters Wario and Waluigi? That would be kind of cute and cool. But then you remember, no, they're bad guys. Nintendo can't possibly come up with a clever reason as to why Wario and Waluigi would help out Mario and Luigi. Yeah, if you haven't already noticed, Nintendo isn't too keen on giving these games interesting setups or even just clever ones. They always start off with the gang just hanging out and then bam, terrorism. Now the 7 Koopalings are back, the same guys from Super Mario Bros. World. Nowadays, they're often considered to be the culmination of laziness. Instead of designing something new or doing something interesting with the story or boss battle here, just throw in a Koopaling. But back then, it was really cool to see these characters brought back and and as 3D models, redesigned for the modern era. The world map is much larger and more detailed, in fact that's pretty much descriptive of the entire game. It's the same general formula from the DS entry, but expanded upon. Due to now having support for more players, being on a bigger widescreen display, and having power-ups that allow for vertical movement, New Super Mario Bros. Wii features a camera that's pulled farther back and larger levels in general. Graphically, the game received a pretty solid transition from DS to Wii. Of course, everything is much smoother, we have better animations, the works. It's disappointing that they didn't really take full advantage of the leap to a home console, though. Not a ton about this game feels like it couldn't have been done on the DS. The art style is the same, the world design is the same, the overall aesthetic is the exact same. It just has higher quality models and assets and is running at a higher resolution. It's disappointing, but it was the first 2D Mario console game in about 2 decades. It's understandable to keep things a bit generic. Same goes with the soundtrack. We got some new tunes, but it still gives off the same vibe as the DS game. Bouncy, bubbly, generic Mario songs. That's not to say they aren't solid tracks again, but there's nothing that really resonates with me here. Except for the final boss theme, I really like that. Gameplay-wise, it's New Super Mario Bros. On the Wii, except now you can spin jump by shaking the Wii remote. I gotta say, I hate shaking the Wii remote for this action. It just never felt responsive to me, and yeah, I think it's wholeheartedly a me thing. I know many others are perfectly fine with it. I just don't like it. The game is primarily played with the Wii remote on its side, but halfway through I tried it out with the Wii remote and nunchuck, and I gotta say, I think I prefer this control method. Shaking the entire controller to spin was never super intuitive to me, so splitting it up like this feels way better. Star coins return, but now you just collect them all to gain access to extra levels after beating the game. Yoshi makes a triumphant return, and he's good fun and all, but you can't bring him with you after beating a level, and yikes, how lame. Power-ups here are far better than the DS entry in my opinion. The only power-up from that game to make a return is the mini mushroom, and alongside the mainstay mushroom, fire flower, and star, we have 3 new ones. The propeller mushroom allows for vertical ascension and crazy quick descension. This one's pretty good. It's not amazing or anything, but I like it. The ice flower, the exact same idea as the fire flower, but you freeze things, and I can't believe it took them this long to implement a power-up like this. Sure, it appeared in Super Mario Galaxy, but its functionality in this game is different and great. It actually has advantages and disadvantages compared to the fire flower and makes you think as to which one you'd rather pick up. The ice can defeat enemies like dry bones who couldn't normally be defeated easily, but now you have extra work. You have to throw the ice block they're frozen in to finish them off. The fire flower can't defeat enemies like dry bones, but can defeat most enemies much quicker. I really like having these 2 power-ups here as alternatives to one another, but New Super Mario Bros. Wii also introduced the penguin suit, and honestly, what's the point of this anymore? Think of the penguin suit as a much more robust and competent version of the blue shell. You start to slide after running, but it's way easier to control. You can swim more easily, and you can shoot ice balls just like the ice flower. It was just really odd to me that they included both power-ups in this game. Like, why not take away the ice ball power from the penguin suit? That would have evened things out much better. The penguin suit was already pretty good without it. And of course we have multiplayer, and yes, it can be a chaotic mess. It's pretty generally agreed upon that 2 players works fine, anything above that gets too wacky. It's still fun though, and if you want to just hop around and go straight to the multiplayer, you have a free-for-all and coin battle mode for some competitive multiplayer mayhem. And that's about it for New Super Mario Bros. Wii. It's definitely an upgrade from New Super Mario Bros., but that's all it really feels like. An upgrade. It still features the same world themes, the same art style, the same basic feel, the same presentation. So much is the same here. I really do wish they took more advantage of the Wii hardware, but like I said, with this being the first 2D Mario platformer on a home console in so long, it's passable. The Nintendo 3DS was unveiled at E3 2010, and later that year in November, Shigeru Miyamoto stated that the 3DS would feature both 3D and 2D Mario games. A year later, after the release of a 3D Mario game, Super Mario 3D Land, Satoru Iwata officially announced that a 2D Mario game would be released for the system. Many were hoping it would be Super Mario Bros. 4, as Nintendo recently registered the domain name SuperMario4.com, even though Super Mario World was considered Super Mario Bros. 4 in Japan. It was at this point I feel like many people were getting a bit tired of the new Super Mario Bros. Series. During E3 2011, Nintendo unveiled the Wii U console to a collective okay, and alongside it they showed off a new Super Mario Bros. Game entitled New Super Mario Bros. Me. It was literally New Super Mario Bros. Wii in HD, and you can play as Mii's. Not the greatest first impression for a brand new HD home console. Showing it off with a 2D Mario game that looks so similar to the last one is the definition of underwhelming. Especially considering New Super Mario Bros. Wii didn't push the Wii's hardware. What made them think this would get anybody excited? But it was just a tech demo showing off a traditional Mario game in HD and how the Wii U gamepad could display the same image as the TV screen. However, this tech demo really hit home how samey the games were feeling, and it didn't help at all that 2012 was the year we got 2 new Super Mario Bros. Games within a few months of each other. New Super Mario Bros. 2 was officially announced in a Japan-only Nintendo Direct in April of 2012. true sequel. This is where things really starting. I initially thought that the game would take some inspirations from Super Mario Bros. 2, whether that be the Japanese or American version. But in reality, it's not new Super